HVAC magazine. This is Business Disruptors. Hi, it's Doug Picklick, editor of HVAC magazine, and welcome to Business Disruptors, a podcast where we speak with mechanical and plumbing contractors who are bringing something different to the plumbing, heating, and cooling industry in Canada. In this episode, I speak with Nathan Horton, the CEO of 1Click Energy Solutions. So far in our podcast series, we've spoken with the leaders of two other companies, Jetson and Go Lime, who are both approaching the residential plumbing and HVAC market with a digital-first approach. And it's the same thing with 1Click. Founded and based in Ontario, 1Click aims to make the online purchasing process for homeowners as easy as possible. Since its founding about 7 years ago, the company has shifted its focus to heat pumps and is looking to be a front runner in the total electrification of homes across Canada. I caught up with Nathan at the CMPX trade show in Toronto in late March, where we touched on his start in the business world, how 1Click has evolved, and how he has personally grown as a business leader. We also touch on the challenges the HVAC home services industry faces with government regulations, the importance of integrating AI into your business, and how he sees the home services business developing. Let's get on to my conversation with Nathan Horton, recorded live at CMPX. But before that, a quick break. This episode is brought to you by Wolseley Canada. You've got jobs to run and timelines to hit. Wolseley Canada makes that easier than ever with multi-brand product solutions for any plumbing or HVAC project, online ordering available around the clock, and clear lead times so there are no surprises on site. When you need expert support, over 2,500 experts are ready across 170 plus locations nationwide. Find your nearest branch or order online at wolseleyexpress.com. Wolseley Canada, your project, our priority. Hello, this is HVAC Magazine's Business Disruptors podcast. I'm Doug Picklick, the editor of HVAC Magazine, and today we welcome Nathan Horton, CEO of 1Click Energy Solutions, formerly 1Click Heating and Cooling, and we'll get to that later.
Perfect.
But first, welcome and thank you for joining our Business Disruptors podcast for this live discussion here at CMPX in Toronto. So, how are you doing today?
I'm good. It's a Friday. So
yes,
not too many complaints yet, but
okay.
We'll see how the day goes.
All right, it's still early. We've met before. We've had a few discussions, but I want to talk a little bit about your background.
Sure.
And here's, I'm recalling a conversation that we had. It was kind of after hours at an association event. And let me get this right. You're originally from Northern Ontario?
Yep, North Bay.
North Bay, okay. And this is how I understand it, so you can explain it, but you kind of basically as a teenager started, I'm going to say like an importing business?
So I've had a few different random ventures, let's call them.
Okay.
When I was younger, I actually more into programming, so dealt with a lot of servers, gaming. So I had an entire gaming company at 14 years old, and we rented servers out, and that was interesting. And in my 20s, we were in importing. So we started bringing in small consumer electronics and did a lot of trade shows. So events like this. So we set up vent booths and sold small consumer electronics. So pretty agnostic to the type of businesses I've been in. And that one was fun.
Okay, bit of a serial entrepreneur though.
Yeah.
I think is how we kind of
it's probably a good way to phrase it.
Ended our conversation towards the end of that evening, as I recall. So, then I saw you had some previous experience with Reliance. That your introduction to the HVAC world?
Yeah, that was, I made that horrible mistake to answer a heating and cooling job ad.
Okay.
Right? So that's I think how most of us got into the industry is you accidentally decided that this was a good idea. And So I worked with Reliance for about 5 years off and on.
Okay.
A lot of market side, so looking at lead generation programs. We did a lot of their trade show events. Also, burn at the door. So looking when all the guys were running around trying to sell water heaters door to door.
Yeah.
We did the opposite, and we went door to door telling people not to buy door to door.
Okay.
So we had about 150 guys that went door to door handing out stickers saying, "Don't talk to strangers. No door to door salespeople, please." So it was an interesting time.
Now, I saw it recently, you posted a bit of a history of the business.
Yep.
And there was something called Easy Heat.
Yeah, Easy Heat was our first name.
Okay.
And I still love that name.
Okay.
I miss that name.
So that's what you got started in. What was the concept with Easy Heat?
So same thing we're doing now.
Okay.
Easy Heat was just, we were trying to make it easy. How do you buy equipment? How do you source equipment? How do you price it? It was all about making it seamless and easy, where 1Click eventually came from.
For residential consumers?
So when we first started, it was actually fully commercial. So we worked with cooperative housing, municipal housing, large-scale property groups and helped them manage their portfolio. And that's where the Easy Heat line came in. It wasn't until I had my first lawyer that told me that Easy Heat was owned by Emerson.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got a quick warning that perhaps that name needed to be changed, and we became 1Click Heating and Cooling, and now 1Click Energy Solutions to really format with what we become.
Yep. From the beginning, is that when you embraced the online marketing, kind of digital first, streamlining the process? This is, I think, from your website, heat and cool your home in 1Click. It makes so much sense. So what went into developing that plan and launching 1Click, and how soon after Easy Heat did 1Click come along then?
So that was seamless. So Easy Heat just became 1Click as we continued to grow. And getting that online marketplace was really looking at the industry, right? Mechanical, how we sell equipment hasn't changed in 100 years, right? It's a kitchen table, an hour and a half with a customer. Customer's going through 3 or 4 quotes, right? It's very time consuming. And we looked at it, why do we have to do that? When you're selling a furnace, for instance, there's not many variables that are changing the cost of that equipment, right? It's very minimal, but for some reason still we got to do an hour and a half sales call with a customer. So it was, how do we take that process and digitize it? So put it online and then put it also over the phone. So it's really about eliminating some of the unnecessary processes that are involved in our industry.
Yep.
I got to be honest, it takes like 7 clicks. Right?
Okay.
We call it 1Click, but it's at least 7. At least
fair.
7 to buy a furnace, for sure.
That's fair. So, so how big is this team? I mean, you're developing really a whole new model online. So can you help me figure some of that out?
So we have 7 offices across Canada. So we operate.
Today?
Yeah. So we operate throughout Vancouver, Nova Scotia, all through Newfoundland, New Brunswick, and then everywhere throughout Ontario. And I think right now we're sitting at about 80 people. And then we have 160 contractors as well.
Okay. That's how your business has grown. But I'm suggesting you needed to build a website.
Yeah.
And you needed to figure out, how do we make that, what was that kitchen table conversation, as easy as 1 or 7 clicks?
7 clicks. We'll go with that, but yeah.
So let's talk. Can you talk about that process? Like, who did that? Was that you?
So
did you have a team?
I'm fortunate enough. I'm not really good with a wrench, but I'm really good with a keyboard.
Okay.
So my background's in programming and marketing.
Okay.
And we have a great team internally that has a really good IT background, but also good external partners. So it's a constant development, right? No different than you doing continuous sales training with your sales guys in the field. We're doing with our online tools. So it's consistent, continuous development, and always looking at how do we upgrade it, how do we make it more seamless, how do we make it easier.
Okay. You started with heating. That was it. Heating and cooling. Now you've embraced heat pumps to a large degree. Right?
So I'd say we've 100% bought in on heat pumps.
Okay.
So we eliminated gas furnaces 3 years ago now.
Okay.
So we don't carry them. We don't sell them to homeowners. So we've gone 100% fully electrification.
Yeah.
And it's maybe not make sense for the entire market or the entire population when it comes to installation, but there's enough of a segment, and that's really where the market's going. It's that expression. It's swim with the stream, not against it. And right now, gas furnaces, there's still a market for it, but heat pumps have become very prevalent. More people are getting involved. More people are looking at it, and particularly in areas where we see high oil usage, propane, and electric heated homes.
Going back to the early model, I think, but even still today, I had a conversation, this was a couple of years ago now, with Jerry Wagner,
Yeah,
who
yeah.
he was often
Good old Jerry.
writing a duct-free zone column with HVAC magazine, trainer with Toso, the Toso brand
Yep.
of heat pumps here in Canada. And Jerry was talking to me, and he was really impressed with you and your business model at 1Click. This was like a couple of years ago. Then he referred to it as kind of a hub and spoke model, right? Because you were tracking the business online, but you had a network of technicians or operators doing the installation work, right? So was that the original model?
Yeah.
And is that it still exists today?
So when we first opened, I never wanted to own a truck.
Okay.
So that was 100%. Never wanted a contract, never wanted a truck, never wanted installers. I wanted everything outsourced. What you realize really, really quickly, particularly when you've created good market trend in an area, is nobody's going to care more than you. So we had to relook at that model and start bringing on our own vehicles, start bringing our own technicians. Now, the model didn't go away. We currently have 160 registered contractors across the country on top of our own trucks to ensure that we can fulfill demand and installations everywhere. But when we first got going, I was an online company. I had no interest in ever owning an office. I was good. That changed very quickly as we grew.
It was a remote business from the start.
Oh yeah.
Became a bricks and mortar
Yeah.
business. Okay, that's fair. So when did you start establishing the
About
physical
3.5
locations?
years ago now. 3.5 years. We
okay.
started first in the East Coast. So we're Corner Brook in
okay.
Halifax, and then Ontario over the last 2 years.
Okay.
And BC was very recent. It was 6 months ago.
Is this kind of organic? Like you're finding the people and starting? Are you acquiring a business?
So
how's that kind of
We've
working?
done both. We've done a few
Okay.
acquisitions, but realistically, we find most of the time greenfielding is better. The challenge with what we do with the electrification space is we may be heating and cooling, but there's still a lack of understanding and knowledge when it comes to heat pump installations. So
Yeah.
we can go into an existing business, but if they aren't trained or effective in heat pumps, you're really buying something that you got to retrain.
Yeah.
So there's definitely challenges when you look at existing infrastructure to existing businesses compared to just opening it up yourself. So
Yeah.
East Coast we bought, Ontario, BC we opened ourselves.
Okay. We already jumped ahead of my questioning, but I'm going to do it anyway. So we turn to today. 6, did you say 6 now locations?
Yeah, 6 locations
Yeah.
plus our office downtown
So covering Ontario, Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, BC,
and New Brunswick.
and New Brunswick. Okay. And on top of that, the network of partners still exists. So as the CEO, you were managing a website. Now you're managing a network of companies. How has your role changed as a leader? Like, what are you doing different that maybe you didn't think you'd be doing?
Yeah, it's a good question. Definitely had to build the right team, right network of partners, right network of people internally to help manage that out. I'm not, as I said, I'm not an installer myself.
Right.
So it's not my skill sets. My skill sets is usually in market development, programming, marketing. So, really taking the time for myself is being at events like this. So, as you know, I'm on the road quite a bit.
Very
so
much.
we do a lot of speaking on the industry, try to shift a lot of the policy side, and then I have a really great team that helps manage that day to day.
So building the team is pretty essential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta, my one business partner, he's got a favorite saying to me, and it's work on the business, not in it.
Yeah.
Right? And it's, if I'm in the office or I'm trying to manage techs every day, then we're not doing anything. We're not growing. We're not changing. So, I'd rather spend my time working on it.
Yeah. So you are the CEO.
Yep.
But ultimately, the company is owned by First Capital. Is it First Growth Capital?
It's a First Growth partnership. So they came in
Partnership?
and bought in about 3 years ago.
Okay.
So we got 3 partners that came with that mixture,
Okay.
which has been phenomenal. Really helped in our growth and our expansion. And they had strong backgrounds in scaling companies. So they, one was just here 2 seconds ago.
Yes.
So Clint and Jim, who are my partners from First Growth, they really jumped in, really helped in our growth and that building blocks. Clint, runs our operations fully.
Okay.
Massive background in it. They owned Modulock Fence Rentals before this, a bunch of other companies. They were in airlines, they were in everything. Jim, CFO, so finance background, so it's really made it a good group that's really helped in our growth and the building of it.
Okay, because I mean, to scale, I mean, you need some equity, to be able to grow
Money
this
helps.
business.
Money helps.
Money helps, right?
Doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt.
All right. So again, I mentioned that we've had conversations before, industry events, and if anyone follows you on LinkedIn, they know that you've been traveling. You travel a lot.
Yeah, I'm off to BC in 24 hours. So.
Very good. Okay. Now, you and 1Click have also been receiving awards. I'm going to name these off. So in 2024, you were involved in an affordable housing complex in the Ottawa area that was recognized as a top project by Canada's Clean 50. And you've been a big proponent of electrical load sharing. I've heard you talk about this a number of times. So I'm hoping you'll be able to talk a little bit more about that. And talk about the role of energy management systems as a way to control electrical loads and why you've found that to be important for the HVAC contractors out there. It's not just you, right?
No, it's industry-wide. I think there's a lot of conversations across the industry of, do we have enough capacity? Is there enough energy? Is there enough electricity? Or do we need to consistently always go to a 200 amp service upgrade? And the challenge is it makes it unaffordable, right? So from a consumer level and a homeowner level, if you got to put a panel and a 200 amp service, now your affordability goes down. On a utility perspective, do you have enough capacity to run 200 amp panels to everything? So we really looked at how do we mitigate that? So in Ontario, which is the only province so far that we're fully approved, so ESA passed a new code for load management. Previously it was load managers could be used with EV. The challenge is with CSA is they actually wrote EV into the code book.
Okay.
So because EV was written there, nothing else was approved. So we got ESA to approve, that was the site we did in Ottawa.
For heat pumps, for mechanical equipment?
You got it. So we'll tie it to a heat pump and let's say the range in your house. And that allows us to mitigate the new load that we're adding to the property. So if we have a 100 amp service, we're technically not adding any new load if we're running it through a load manager. So we don't have to do a panel swap, we're not waiting on delays, we're not waiting on disconnect days. So speed and effectiveness allows us to move forward and also cost effectiveness for the customer. So I'm not saying, utilities also like it because they're getting kind of sick of everybody putting 200 amp service in. So.
Okay, so it's a win-win.
Yes.
Win-win-win, I guess, maybe even. Okay, so you've moved to really heat pump electrification is your primary, it's your focus.
Yep.
So is your business, are you replacing gas furnaces? Are you, like, what is it, mini splits? Is it ducted? What seems to be, what's your business?
I'd say a little bit of everything, honestly. We're not, I wouldn't say gas is predominantly what we're replacing right now.
Is dual fuel, do you go into?
So we do a little on the dual fuel side, but I think our goal, our Canada's goal is 2050 for full electrification, full net zero. That's 24 years away, right? So, you're not gonna go in and you're not gonna switch everything today. So we don't concentrate too much when it comes to gas equipment because the cost effectiveness and the benefit analysis for the customer just isn't there. Will we add A-coil heat pumps on top of gas furnaces? 100%. Like we stopped selling air conditioners. It's an unnecessary product for a homeowner. You might as well put a heat pump in because you're gonna get them more value. But where we do concentrate a lot of our efforts is where we can give that customer the biggest benefits. So electric baseboard heated homes, looking at mini splits, replacing oil, replacing wood, replacing propane, where those customers can really get a tangible ROI on that immediately. And the proof of concept's there. So, you take out somebody's oil furnace, right? On average, you look at, let's say, Newfoundland, you're $5,000, $6,000 a year in oil. Right? Your electric's gonna cost you $1,500. So there's an immediate benefit back to the homeowner to get that switched out. Yeah.
Are you educating customers then online? I mean, it doesn't become one click then, it's a one click in a conversation, right? So is that what you're finding? It would be wonderful if it was one click, right? But what's the reality?
Education is the most important part of what we do right now. Right. And it's not just the educating on the consumer, but it's also educating on industry, educating on contractors, educating on utility side. There's a lot of misinformation out there when it comes to heat pumps and electrification, and it's a very politicized topic. So, we spend a lot of our time on education, and it's not just to the homeowner. It's really an industry wide.
Okay, and certainly we hear in the industry, technicians, the level of technician expertise, let's say, in heat pumps needs to level up? Are you finding?
I think it's
where are we
well,
at?
an overall understanding, right? Like there's we talk micro credentials or different programs to try to get people upskilled. You know, it's electrical, for instance. So 70% of my technicians are electricians. Right, so that's that dynamic shift in the industry right away. Is when we go into a house, refrigeration is now the easier part. Right, it's load capacities. It's how do you look at panels? How do you measure? How do you read utility data? Right, so electrical has become a larger component, and now it's upskilling electricians with refrigeration. So it's really dynamically shifted and changed.
Yeah.
Who we're looking at, but also what we're bringing on.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Okay. Another honor for 1Click, if I guess, or recognition, being included in the Globe and Mail's 2025 Canada's top growing companies list. Number 118,
Yeah,
right, in 2025.
We might beat it this year. We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, so with the 3-year revenue growth of 294%, projections of 2025, so I guess you give that data to them, revenue leading to 550% 4-year revenue growth rate. What are we chalking this up to? You've been scaling, that helps.
I think delivering a good product and good customer service. You know, we definitely give a different way for consumers to look and purchase equipment, which has allowed them that growth. But it's really, you know, if you ever come to my office, you'll hear this almost from everybody there. We have no interest in being the biggest. We just want to be the best. And it's really delivering on that back to the homeowners and consumers. And that's, you know, I don't think you'll ever grow a business like this without just really caring about your customer service and caring about making sure you're doing things right and taking care of people.
Seems like a simple formula.
You know, and you just got to install a lot of heat pumps.
Okay, well that's critical. So let's talk about the supply chain. Selecting the products that you're selecting, relationships, how that seems to be sometimes a bit of a tricky maneuver in this industry. So how are you forging those ties?
It's a lot easier than it was in COVID.
Okay.
Oh, I remember during COVID when you'd sit there and you'd call a customer 5 times and tell them to keep changing their unit because nothing can get delivered. So we got really strong relationships we built over the years with a few manufacturers, Toso being our largest manufacturer we work with right across Canada. And I think really forging those relationships and building on it, coming to events like this, CMPX, where you kind of get everybody in the same room.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's product hasn't been the same issue as it was a few years ago.
Okay.
Right? So it's gotten a lot easier.
Yeah, easier to get supply-wise.
You got it.
Relationships with the manufacturers too. That's part of your role, is it?
Yeah. So I spent about a month and a half in China last year looking at manufacturers. I'll most likely do the same again this year.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, we maintain our wholesale relationships, but when it comes to R&D, looking at new products, new design, it's really good to also have those relationships directly with the manufacturers.
Yeah.
That way we can get stuff done, we can change things, or we can develop. So we run a lot of R&D right across Canada on different products, be it window heat pumps, load monitoring, a bunch of different stuff. Having those direct relationships allows us to get that stuff.
Very good. So I was going to ask about the dual fuel option. You kind of touched on it. Because retrofits, I mean, is that your primary business or?
Yeah, we're full retrofit. Part 9 residential homes, retrofit.
Yeah, okay. I know like some community housing projects, like there was that one, but is that's another area that you're?
So when we first opened, we didn't sell to homeowners. It was only community partners. So it was cooperative housing, municipal housing, and large-scale government work.
Okay.
I had zero interest in selling to homeowners at the beginning. It was COVID that really made that change again. Because during COVID, anything in commercial, municipal, or co-op shut down. And anybody that operated through that, anything that was government-based, closed the doors.
Right.
So it's we went from installing a couple hundred systems a month to installing nothing really, really quickly. So we had to redeploy ourselves in a different manner, and that's when we switched over to full online e-com, but also to consumer-driven.
Okay. Now I want to talk a little bit about leadership. As the CEO of 1Click, what kind of business leader are you? Like, how would you categorize yourself as a leader?
Oof. Oh, there's a question, eh? Still learning.
Okay.
Still learning.
Yeah.
I think it's exciting doing this stuff, but I think it's also challenging. You're consistently challenging yourself on a day-to-day basis and relearning what you think you know. I think any good leader, it's the ability to understand that you're probably wrong sometimes, and then how do you relearn and redevelop yourself?
Yeah.
So it's if I had to paint it into 2 words, it's still learning, right?
Yeah.
And still growing, still developing.
Like, so from, I forget what year was the beginning?
7 years ago now.
7 years ago, and you looked at what you thought your business model was going to be to what it is today. Is it similar or like completely different?
It is a 100% different company.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still have a folder on my desktop, and it's the original code from my first app I developed for the company. In that app, I spent, I'm not going to say how much, but it's on my folder, and several months of programming efforts and everything else, and I shut it down a week after I opened it. So being able to pivot and understanding that, again, you're still learning, it's a constant growth. It's not just your business is growing, you're growing, and you're also learning. So it's a constant development.
Yeah. Marketing. I assume, I mean, you're an online business.
Yep.
Digital marketing, programmatic. Are you buying Google keywords? Like, what people want to know? How do we market a business? And you're a digital business.
Can't give you all the secrets.
Not all the secrets.
Marketing, I thought I knew marketing until I hired a really good marketing team.
Okay.
And then I realized I had no idea what I was doing whatsoever. When you're going in the digital landscape, it's a net, right? You're looking at social, digital, you're looking at Google. Here's one, look at Bing. Bing's actually really awesome. So
Okay.
get into that Microsoft side, and it's really this wide net. And funny enough, we still do mailers.
Okay.
We still find success out of that. So each market we operate in or demographic has a different way that we need to approach it. And it's over time you can learn it and you figure it out, but it's really a wide spread. So, it's not one single source or one single solution. It's you got to use everything.
Yeah. Okay.
So everything from our online digital ads to still putting the postcard in the mail.
Okay. That's good. Are you selling products outright? Are you financing products? The guy we had earlier today, Jeff Schwartz, Go Lime, water heaters is their primary business.
Yep.
Leasing water heaters is that's still what they're doing. People can buy them outright, but they're still leasing, right? What's your business?
We won't lease.
Okay.
So it's, each company to their own
Yeah.
devices and whatever is that benefit and what works for them. I find leasing almost can entrap customers into products and companies with no exit strategy or plan. And we see that a lot in Ontario where customers can't electrify because they're stuck in 15-year contracts over leases. So as an organization, we stay completely away from it. We use Finance It for lending. So they're integrated right in our website so customers can actually do their finance application right through our site. Or it's cash, credit card, all the basic stuff. But it's coming from the industry, being reliant on all these different areas. I've been in the leasing game before, but it was more of a conscious decision with our company where we just didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunity for it, and again, happy for any company that's doing it.
Yeah.
Just for us personally, I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
So I stick to finance and cash.
People want to know, you're a digital business again first, so do you have AI in your business?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
If you're not integrating AI into your company in some capacities at this point, you're really losing yourself and you're getting left behind, right? It's like going back to when the computer came out and the person still wanted to be a typewriter. Like the technology can add value and benefit, and we use it in a magnitude of different areas, be it in our sales controls, our operations, so looking at our equipment, our product. Where AI is, I'd say, the biggest benefit is taking on that middle management road. So, instead of my sales director having to spend the time and doing coaching one-on-one every day with the sales guys, we have an AI software that's listening in and able to do that for them. So we get better results out of it, higher closing ratios. So if anybody's not using AI or digital tools, it's definitely something that it may seem scary, but it's not. You can do it in even the smallest way and the smallest impact and have the greatest impact for your company. So
You've been doing it a while then?
yeah, so I'm a nerd. So
Yeah,
we're going to go with that. The day AI came out, I was already bought in. And I'm consistently looking at new ways to deploy and develop it in, and how you can add more value, right? People have this fear mentality that, it's going to take jobs away.
Yeah.
And any company I've seen with proper deployment, and if anything, it creates jobs, right? Because your processes get faster, they get cleaner. You're able to deploy better, you're able to sell more, you're able to install more. So that creates more opportunities, not less.
Okay. I was going to ask how your previous experience has informed how you approach your current role. And your real big business experience was with Reliance, like a big company.
So I actually only worked for Reliance for a few months. I did
Oh, it was
consulting
a
work
few
for them.
months.
Yeah, I did
Oh.
consulting work for them for several years, but
Okay.
I've always ran my own companies.
Okay.
So I think
So
I've been an employee
independent.
for somebody under 6 months my entire life.
Okay, so that's who you
Yeah.
are. Yes.
I'm used to more just setting things up. I like innovation, and I like looking at current systems and figuring out how you can change it.
Yeah.
So I've always been a serial entrepreneur.
Well, you've been in the HVAC industry now for a few years, so I don't think we're telling too many secrets, but where are you seeing the opportunities in the HVAC home services market? And maybe this speaks to the new name of the company.
Yeah, energy solutions.
Yeah.
And I talk about this quite a bit, where HVAC in general has always been gas furnace, air conditioner, and indoor air quality. But it's really becoming electrical now as well, right? And I think it's a miss on some companies not recognizing that, where, that entire home comfort piece now has become electrical. So whether or not it's battery backup systems, PCM thermal storage, looking at air source heat pump water heaters, looking at heat pumps. And what's that do for the business? Well, we've gone from a business where a gas furnace costs $5,000 to now you can do $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in a door over a decade. So the opportunity is immensely grown, right? But also the skill set's gone with it. So it's changed. It's no longer you're just at the gas fitter. And to do it properly nowadays, you need your electricians on staff, you need your gas fitters, you need your refrigeration techs. So
Yeah.
it's really changed the dynamic, I think, of what mechanical is and what you can do in a home.
Also, I suppose you get a heat pump into a home, and you're trying to grow that share of customer, right?
Heat pumps are step one. It's the heart of a house, right?
Yeah.
Everybody in Canada, that's one thing, beautifully enough with Canada, we need heating and cooling.
Yes.
It gets stupid cold and it gets stupid hot. So the heat pumps are easy first set in, but then we look at battery backup systems, right? So how many Generac generators are in the market? Now we're looking at how do we build that resiliency on electric, so battery backup systems. And then what follows the battery backup systems? Now we have EV chargers, right? So now we got to do panels. Now we got to, and keep going. So the product is limitless right now.
Yeah. Okay.
So when we did the name change to Energy Solutions, was really focusing on making sure that people understood what we were doing. So 1Click Heat was a great name. I love that name. Spent a lot of years with that name. But it really put us into a bucket where it was people expected all we were was heating and cooling.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, we've really become a full electrical company across Canada. And our focus, as much as we're still really big on heat pumps, our focus has really been on that energy transition. So our array of products has immensely grown.
Right. Electrification is what you're all about.
It's the future.
Yeah. Recently, your greatest pain point in this transition, what do you...
Codes.
Codes?
Yeah, our electrical code in Canada only updates every 4 years. So
Yeah,
you can have all this.
mechanical
You can have
codes,
all these
yeah.
great ideas and great innovations and great products. You're waiting 4 years on a code change. So CSA put forward, for instance, on load management to do the code change, but that's not going to happen until 2027. So each individual province right now we have to speak to and try to get them to change their provincial codes for we can move forward. So I think technology has gone a lot faster than our government has when it comes to red tape. So
Sure.
we got a massive red tape issue. We have trades issues and not enough people. We all know that one. We hear it every day. But codes. So the red tape and government supports. It's great for them to get out there and say, hey, 2035, we want to do all these great things. But if they're not willing to move the needle and actually push, the electrical codes and different product and safety codes forward, we can't do anything.
Yeah.
So we're handcuffed by bad policy.
Yeah. Very good. Well, this is my final question for you, and it's where do you see...
That was a lot quicker than I
know.
thought.
Where do you see 1Click Energy in 3 years from now? Where?
I'm constant looking at different opportunities and more expansion. So I can't give all the secrets away, but we got several other offices being planned this year. So we're definitely looking to continue to move and grow.
Again, organic growth primarily?
Mostly organic. You know, we're always looking for really good opportunities for groups that we can bring into the mixture. But you know, we still got a little bit of land in Canada that we haven't put our feet down. So stay tuned. You'll see it, and more electric products and more branches.
Well, maybe just one additional then. I mean, electrification is what you're all about. You're on the East Coast and in Central Canada and BC. Is that because are those the places where it's happening, where you're getting uptake? That's why you're there? Is that fair?
100%. You know, our largest branch is in Corner Brook, Newfoundland. And I don't know if you know where Corner Brook is.
I haven't been, but...
You got to look on the map to find this place. And it's, again, it goes back to impact and where value we can give to a consumer. It's a very heavy oil province, right? And we got customers there that are on $25,000, $30,000 in income, spending $8,000 a year in oil. So we can do the most value there. So, you know, I may operate out of downtown Toronto. I barely do any installs in downtown Toronto, right? We really concentrate on where we can give the most value to a client back. And so that's going to be in your oil areas, your propane, and your electric heated homes.
Well, I mean, we could keep going because there's more questions ruminating. Maybe just one more?
Sure.
Because you talk about that, we're talking about business disruptors, okay? I don't know Corner Brook, but I'm assuming there's some ma and pa heating and cooling people, been there for a while. This digital guy is coming in. How are you getting that business? And is price a primary? I mean, we talk about the keys to good marketing, right? Your price and position, this is the P's. I've forgotten all of them. But what's promotion, right? Promotion is a big one for you guys. What's the differentiator? How are you disrupting the business in these areas where you're having success?
Education and value.
Yeah.
I'm never going to be the cheapest guy, nor am I going to be the most expensive. I like being in the middle. But where we differentiate ourselves and where we give, you know, how we can, to your point, do it in a place like Corner Brook, it's delivering strong value to the customer, good education on the products, and being responsive with it. You know, it's not every customer is going to buy online. Right, so we're not going to ever have 100% of any market, but there is customers that are tired of the kitchen table sale. Right, they don't want to be peer pressured. They don't want to be pushed into buying something. They want to just make a choice, and that's what we do. We give them that opportunity. So, you know, again, we're not going to. We go in, we complement a market. Right, we're not going in to try to be the biggest. It's where we add a value and we add a specific way for a customer to move forward that has been asked for in the market. You know, when we first opened, I went on Google, and I remember we had this big whiteboard up, and we were trying to figure out how we were going to grow this company. I went on Google and I said, "How much is a gas furnace?" And I couldn't get an answer. Right, so I went online. I said, "How much is a gas furnace?" And all I got was about 300 lead farms of companies that were trying to get a lead off to 300 companies.
Yes.
Now, and this is where we know we've created some value. You go online now and you put how much is a gas furnace, you got 8 of us. Yeah. So we didn't create something the market didn't ask for. And a lot of customers just got tired of that kitchen table deal. So we were able to jump into a market and give a value and an opportunity that they were looking for.
Okay. I mean, you talk about the education point too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, it's been talked about, but in the whole buying process for HVAC, people refer to it as a lot of friction, right? It's not a simple process. Tons of different models, tons of different people coming at me, like you said. So you're hopefully simplifying that process. Yeah. That's part of it.
Well, you just got to let them know, heat pumps work, right? So
right.
It's kind of a big part of it at this point.
Yeah.
There's again, it goes. There's so much miscommunication and misinformation, or it's too much politicization when it comes to heat pumps. I still wish we just called them 2-stage air conditioners, and I'd have a lot less problems, right? Because we call them a heat pump, it's an education piece.
Yeah.
Right. My business partner that was here a little bit ago, I think he was 4 months in the business before he realized heat pumps do cooling.
Yeah.
right? That's a normal consumer reaction because the name doesn't make sense to what we're actually doing.
Yeah.
And all customers see is they don't work in cold, or they'll hear an installer say they don't work. So there's a massive re-education campaign that you consistently have to do to reteach.
Yeah.
Or, when we sell in a few places, we do call them two-stage air conditioners because it's a little easier and a lot less politicized.
Okay. Okay, one more question.
All right. Now you said that twice though.
I know.
All right.
So, but this is going to be this honestly. You've switched the name already.
Yep.
1Click Energy Solutions, but people still need to learn about heating and cooling, heat pumps, right? You're still educating them on that. So are you too quick to move to energy solutions, to the whole,
I think I'm almost
gamut?
too slow.
Do you think?
We've been for the last 2 years, me and you have had a lot of conversation at
Yep.
events. I spend a lot of time on policy and try to shift the electrical code. So I almost think we're too slow. Right? So we're a heating and cooling company, and I'm going into conversations trying to change electrical policy.
Yeah.
So it's it was bound to happen, and it's definitely the right time. But honestly, we could have done it a year ago, just based on the products we offer and what we're doing. Because heat pumps, again, it may be the biggest thing that we're putting in that home today, but it's not the end result for that customer long term.
Right. You're building a relationship.
Huge. You got to build resiliency. Electric cars are coming. I get it. Again, another policy moment, so we don't want to get too political. We're on a podcast, but EV chargers are part of this, right? Electrical panel upgrades are going to be part of this. Doing battery backup systems for resiliency are part of this energy transition. So
Solar? Is that on your
I can't
map?
do it.
No?
I get asked all the time. I got really great partners that do solar, and I'm happy
Okay.
to send them every customer that's looking for it. It's one thing in
Referral
business,
business.
you got to pick a line and just stick to it.
Okay.
If you start doing everything, you can't be the best.
Okay.
So it goes back to, I have no interest in being the biggest. I just want to be the best at what we're doing. And for us, being the best is electrification.
Yeah.
So we'll leave the solar and the rooftop stuff to those guys, and we'll handle all the electrical hookups for them.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, that's it.
Awesome. Hey,
Very
really
good.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
Okay, so that's Nathan Horton, CEO of 1Click Energy Solutions. He's the CEO of a business that has its sights set on greater expansion across Canada, that doesn't necessarily want to be the biggest, but wants to be the best at delivering simple electrification solutions for homeowners. If there's one thing to take away from our first group of 3 podcasts, all 3 company leaders have come from outside the industry, and they all see the HVAC home services business as a sector that is due for disruption. I'm always open to hearing what you think about the changes you're seeing in this industry. Are you seeing changes for the better or the worse? Let me know. I can be reached at editor@hpacmag.com. I'd like to thank Wolseley for supporting this edition of the Business Disruptors podcast. And remember, you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and also on our YouTube channel. The Business Disruptors podcast is an HPAC magazine production. And once again, I'd like to thank Jim Stubbington of Annex Business Media for post-production engineering. And thank you to Peter Leonard for our theme music. That's it for this episode. I look forward to sharing more conversations in the next edition of Business Disruptors, an HPAC magazine production. Bye for now.